Hey everyone, how's it going? So here we are. It's winter, and the season of self-reflection as the cycle ends and starts anew. But what does that mean for Superman? Last we saw our dear Man of Steel in this 4-part series by Lub and Sale, it was fall and Lex Luthor nearly poisoned Metropolis and create a superhero named Toxin, only to have her die by the end, all to make Superman doubt himself. A plan that sounds simple on paper, but involved a bunch of unnecessary steps like brainwashing someone to be obsessed with Superman on someone who was already obsessed with Superman. But it worked. Superman feels dejected, and by the end of the issue, and returns to Smallville. How will Clark overcome this sadness? Well, let's dive into Superman for All Seasons Winter, the grand finale of this mini, and find out. Warning, spoilers. Our story begins calling back to the end of the first issue with the kid from before still playing on the ledge. Starting to think that Clark should have called Child Protective Services, because who keeps letting their kid do this? But instead of Superman, the kid is greeted by Lex's guardians from issue 2, who have taken over as protectors. But Lex is getting to the point Metropolis is borderlining on being a police state. While Lex is content, Lois wonders where Superman and Clark are, which leads to the classic bit of her almost getting to the truth, but then immediately shutting it down. Though with the addition of our narrator this issue, this time being Lana Lang, talking about how she really felt about Clark after he revealed his powers in the first issue. Yet despite looking like she was at awe of Clark's powers, she was actually terrified, but kept it together because she knew Clark wasn't trying to scare her. He was just doing what best friends should do, share secrets. Speaking of Clark, he's still back in Smallville, talking to Lana, who returned after her travels, having a walk and catching up. Clark tried to suggest flying somewhere, but Lana believes he needs this, though tries to hide it. They head back to the diner and meet with Pete Ross, who is glad to see Clark, but not Lana. As though Clark forgave Lana for leaving town without telling, Pete didn't. Not just because it hurt Clark, but because Pete saw Lana as his best friend. Now, Lana isn't stupid. She expected this, but it still hurt. Later that night, her and Clark are having dinner with his parents, but it's quickly interrupted as a rainstorm is hitting the town and warned that a massive flood will follow. Clark helps his folks and Lana pack up and get ready to leave, and seems to be planning to help the townspeople who could be stuck in the flood. But Lana can tell that he's still letting what happened in Metropolis get to him. Lana gives Clark a speech about how, in the end, he's still a good person, and though she doesn't know what it's like to bend steel, she knows Clark, and he will and can help people. Ending with a kiss and Clark flying off to save the day. It's a kind of a callback to the tornado in the first issue, though Clark is more focused and has more of a plan to save the people and limit damage to the town. Though it doesn't go as smoothly as his parents and Lana are nearly killed, Clark saves him just in time. After the residents come to the church for service, Pastor Liquist gives a sermon about the seasons, as they could be seen as a trial, as though they can be harsh, people will get through it to look forward to the future. Clark says goodbye to Lana and his family and returns to Metropolis, versus Clark, who talks about the flood as a story for the Daily Planet, and later Superman as, seriously, again with this kid? Anyway, he saves him from falling, tells the Guardian to let Lex know he's back, which pisses him off, and the ledge-prone kid tells Superman his name is Trev, and Clark introduces himself as Superman. Fitting, as this is the first time Clark actually refers to himself as Superman, but I'll talk more about that when I talk about characters. And that's a wrap for the main story. But there is more. The trade comes with Tales for All Seasons, which are a series of short stories that dive more into Clark's life in Smallville before he left. Now, the first time he actually met Bruce Wayne, so hey, if you're hoping for a crossover with Long Halloween, there you go. A story of Clark going to his first dance with Lana, a retelling of Clark's backstory, but in scrapbook form, which is weird because it's clearly not retelling this story, since in that story, his parents died before he became Superman. And finally, Sam's story. A story that has Clark befriend a boy named Sam, and though I won't go into detail, I will say that this story is actually a tribute to Jeff Loeb's son, who unfortunately passed away in 2005 at the age of 17. It's a sad story, but a very touching tribute. And that wraps up Superman for All Seasons. And on a whole, it was pretty good. Sure, there were some elements I did feel were a bit off, like as I mentioned several times, issue 3 story was just kind of weird. Feeling like Pete Ross could have done more as a character, and really wish we got to see more of Lex control over Metropolis. Oh, and that kid on the ledge is just so dumb. Dumb kids aside, this is a solid retelling of the story. I know some people are probably upset it didn't end with an epic battle between Clark and Lex, or show off a slew of supervillains like Batman Long Halloween. That's not what this comic is about. It was about Clark and what he meant to the people around him, to the city, to humanity, the inspiration and hope he brings. The scene of him flying in Metropolis despite Lex's attempts to break his spirit is all the victory needed for this story. Moving on to characters, well, of course I'm going to talk about Clark. In this issue, he was at his most vulnerable emotionally. Once again, despite not getting to see his inner monologue, you feel his sorrow and doubt just from the facial expressions, and how his talk with Lana, Pete, and his parents slowly melt those feelings away, along with him just exploring Smallville and seeing that he didn't just change, but the town itself has changed. Loeb and Sale did a solid job keeping up with the Silver Age feel when he was saving the town in Return to Metropolis, which is pretty satisfying as by that point, Clark truly did feel like Superman, because even though everyone was calling him that, he wasn't sure if he truly was worthy of the name. But in the end, he proved to himself and his family that he is Superman. Next, let's talk about Lana, who, as I mentioned, is this issue's narrator. And you get to know more about her and how she saw Clark back in the day and now. Like I mentioned in issue 1, Lana didn't have the intention to leave Smallville, and was even hoping that one day she would marry Clark. To her, that was all she needed in her life, but though she still had feelings for him, felt that she should do more with her life after he revealed himself. However, despite doing good, she still regretted how she handled it, and even wanted to make things up between Clark and Pete sooner, but even then never truly knew how, with the best thing she could think of being a postcard. That of course didn't work, but still she was determined to make things right and help in any way she could. As for the rest of the cast, I don't have much to say that wouldn't be repeating what I said in previous reviews, like the Kent, Lois, or Lex, and Pete and Pastor Lindquist have great moments like Pete's confrontation with Lana or Lindquist's speech after the flood, but no real development that I could really dive into, which is a shame, especially towards Pete, as his scene at the diner really showed how, though hurt over how Lana left town, does it in a mature and civil way. What can I say about Tim Sale's art in this issue that I haven't said before? It is still amazing, and though Clark's design is still a bit off, it's never distracting. And the use of color definitely keeps the themes of winter as both bright, joyful, and calm as Clark and Lana walk around, but also dark and cold during the flood. Though I do wish Lex was bald by the end of the issue, that might just be me. Superman for All Seasons is definitely worth the read. Sure, it's not action-packed as Batman The Long Halloween, and it has rocky moments story-wise, but it has the heart of a great Superman story, and in the end, I think that's the most important part. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates, and follow me on Blue Sky. Next time, well, it's not special or an obligation, but I will be talking about Valentine's Day as we continue Batman: The Last Halloween. Later.